listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So there's that expression, I don't know how it goes. I was so many days old when I found this out, but I think so. Like most, or like a lot of sad people, I was looking at the Met Gala gowns on Monday.
Yes.
You know, and even if you didn't know it was on Monday, if you are on social media, there was no way to avoid seeing people in weird floral outfits. Sand, branches. I don't know. It was all a lot. But I just today saw a meme which had like Zendaya in that beautiful gown. And then next to her was a child screaming in Gaza. And somebody said that this was during the Iraq War, that is how the author of The Hunger Games started writing her books, with the Met Gala and the violence in the Iraq War.
Mm-hmm. I also recently found this out, but I knew that it was. I didn't know that it was exactly the Met Gala with the Iraq War happening at the same time. I did know how she felt like watching the news was very dystopian and kind of like these stark contrasts of things happening in the same world, or even just in the same country. Because I'm like, I guess Hunger Games happens in like one country,
or
instead of
district
like the whole world.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, if I'd been probably smarter, I would have noticed that. But for some reason, I just think social media I know there's a lot of criticism of it, but, I do think it has a place when it can do that quite succinctly, show the two pictures next to each other. And
for sure.
It looks exactly like what they wear in the Hunger Games. It's literally...
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly
it literally
what is happening.
Is this extremely colorful, over the top. Yes.
Like pretty much anything Elizabeth Banks was
Glam.
Wearing in the Hunger Games, she could wear to the Met Gala, right? I mean, that's...
Yes, on Monday.
Yeah.
I've also kind of been feeling about the Met Gala for I don't know how long, but it's just, it comes after all of these awards shows happened and everything. And I just feel this like real exhaustion towards seeing people dressed up for the red carpet. And so I've never really been hugely into the Met Gala. Like, I'm not into red carpet shows that much at all, but I just, I don't know. I understand it's like it's about fashion, and it's about fashion as art and all of that stuff. And I don't know. I just feel tired and exhausted though when I think about watching it, because it's just like, oh, I guess like these people had teams of who knows how many, top level professionals working on them for days and weeks and months for some of those dresses. And, maybe people will consider it for 30 seconds on their phones and then move on to something else. And it just seems like, wow, like so much effort and money and time gets poured into this thing, and it's just gone in a flash. Like, we're not even going to be thinking about the Met Gala like 2 days after it happens.
Yeah, it is truly one of the most, and like, I love fashion. Like, I feel like I'm a fashion comedian. So, I mean, I keep up, but I also feel it is truly exhausting. I mean, especially right now, I think it's exhausting to like see that and to keep up with it. It's for this group of people where I think, kind of like how back in the day, people were like, we love the royals, and it was fine, even though what they were doing, like how they were living and why they were in their positions that they were in, were very outdated and nobody really cared so much. But because we had access to their lives, it was okay to kind of almost be to kind of like for entertainment. For entertainment, it's good, but I think as the gap gets larger, that entertainment is no longer so entertaining. And so I think that is really because, like you said, you know, like, yeah, days, months to plan this outfit or to plan this party and this event. And I was talking about it today, and a coworker was like, I don't even know what that is. I'm just so out of it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess you know, the Met Museum, that's where it is held. And it's called a gala because it's like a party at that museum. And then there's like a theme. It's Anna Wintour. Very, very fancy. But it's interesting to see how dissociated celebrities are from real life and what people make. And so...
Yeah, and it seems a shame too because there's something missing in the middle because, like you said, loving fashion. I love creativity. I love seeing what people can do. I love watching Project Runway. I love watching all of the other shows. Like there was a really terrific one on Netflix with Tan France and Gigi Hadid. And it was the same thing, you know, watching the designers and, you know, somebody gives them a bunch of old fabric and you've got to do something.
Right.
Like, I love seeing that, the creativity. But somehow I know at the Met Gala there is somebody, you know, that's tasked with coming up with something and they put so much effort and time. And then all of a sudden it just gets very disappointing to see Kim Kardashian walk out with a cardigan and a corset.
Yes,
you know, like it just...
I know. What happened? Who okayed this? What departments? What departments? And I think it's so funny because it's truly like our lens of seeing what is hot and what it looks good and like the creativity of it all is so far from also these people because I think of like the really, really cool and memorable Met outfits like the Rihanna's Guo Pei in her like the big regal Chinese themed that was great. That was so gorgeous, right? Like that there's so many kind of like very detailed labor that goes all I can think about is labor is that goes into this kind of these events, and it is interesting when they miss
it just
the mark
seems there must be
so
some
badly.
Sort of the way to celebrate the creativity that shouldn't have to do with celebrities. Like, I mean, think of Bill Cunningham, the famous street photographer. He not only was he able to find the most amazing people on a daily basis, right? But he could sniff out the people that wanted the attention and were not even close to what he wanted. Right? That they were like slavishly looking through some sort of magazine, but he wanted the people that every day was their runway, right? That they just felt this need to be creative in their appearance, and he found them and photographed them, and that's what I feel like I'm missing.
Well, I think his thing was more that like the people he photographed were more about style, which is different than fashion. Like people cultivate a style and like they're inherently stylish and like they look stylish whenever they walk out the door. It's not about them consuming fashion and just buying the trendiest stuff and have it be disposable. It's them cultivating a personal style that is like with them for their entire lives. But also like I take your point, Lisa, and like I kind of wish the Met Gala was focused more on fashion designers and showing like what they can do, and it was, you know, not about celebrity at all.
But I know it's also a fundraiser, so I get why she wants people there with lots of money. You know, because it's, as somebody said, when it started in 94, it was magazines were doing a lot better than they are now. So you know, you got to take your money where you can. And, you know, so I understand all of that. But yeah, I was really trying. You know what it was? I just had some therapy here with both of you here because I was wondering what it was I was missing. And now I realize what it is. You're right. It was not anything about style. It wasn't anything about creativity. It was just a very sad display. It was, you know, like watching like
Yeah.
children, doing going through the tickle trunk and putting some stuff on, and you have to go, "Ooh, wow, you look great. Are you Elsa?" Like.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. My goodness.
Yeah. And of course, there's not a lot of body diversity in the people that they seem to invite to this thing at all, which is, not great.
I think what they think is we'll hire Ashley Graham to be the host, and then that's it.
And then we have a fat girl.
And then
we
there
have
you
a fat
go,
girl.
right? Yeah.
All we need. Yeah.
You just need the one, and then everybody else can do their thing. So yeah, it was. I probably spent too much time on it, and next year I probably will again. But I know I'll know specifically why I'm not having a good time, if that makes any sense at all.
All because
Well,
of
I
you,
think
Andrea.
you've like taken a big step
Thank you.
in self-awareness.
Oh wow, because that's usually not my strong suit. So thank you very much for noting that. I appreciate it very much. As I'm in my sweatshirt that I wear for every taping of the podcast.
I did not come
And
with a
it's-
full face of makeup today.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's a
We're
taping.
just, we're doing us.
We are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what kind of segue there can be from talking about the Met Gala to talking about our topic today, which is the Netflix series Baby Reindeer.
Keeping it real. That's what it is.
Yeah. Hard
We're doing-
swerve. Let's go.
Well, you're listening to Pop This. I'm Andrea Gin.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And I'm Joanne Tsung.
Welcome, Joanne.
Hello,
Thank
Joanne.
you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite podcasts. So hello.
We're so happy to have you back.
Yeah,
Every
it's
time you come.
wonderful. And you are
Every time you come, you're so funny.
you know, like we were wanting to tackle this for a while, and I'm sure you feel the tall orderness of it.
Surely I do. It's okay. Like I said, I have more questions than answers, but I'm ready. Let's get into it. Because I did not find out about anything about it. I hadn't even heard about it until I started watching it, just out of, because
really?
it was recommended. Yeah. I mean, I know now what has been said and shared and over again. But I don't know how I got missed to this. I mean, it was definitely on my watch list, but like somebody else had told me about it before I had seen all the drama. And there's a lot.
Well, I mean, it is, that's how things get popular these days, is that because like there's so many TV shows out there, but like something has to bubble up in a news cycle about the show and coincide with the same time of like everybody around you talking about how they're watching the show and how like, they're shocked
they're
or
all
blown away
shocked.
by. Yeah. Because for me, like Lisa was the first one who mentioned that she was watching it. And then I read about the controversy online. And then I was like, okay, I guess I have to watch this thing. Lisa, how did you decide to watch it?
Yeah, good question. I same thing. I just saw, hey, this is the thing. It hadn't come out yet when I read about it at first. And then they were like, it'll be out on Friday. And I kind of like coming home on Fridays and starting something new, TV-wise, not like building a house or something. And
My gosh.
so I didn't, all I knew was, I know we're getting a little bit ahead. All I knew was it was a true story about a man that had a stalker. That's all I knew.
Right.
I didn't, because it was way too early for all of the talk and anything about it yet. And so I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, that's a little disappointing. Like this guy, I get it. Like, that's it. And then I think I read something else and brought something else up and I went, is that the same show? And then I continued with it. And then I'm really pleased I did because it went places I was not expecting.
Yes. It was much darker than I thought it would be. And after, in the first few episodes, I was a little bit like, do I want to keep watching this? Because it seems a little, I don't know, like stressful, to watch it.
Yeah,
And
extremely suspense building. Yeah, majorly.
yeah. So, and I don't know, because, stalking is a common, aspect of a lot of crime TV shows. And I haven't been so impacted by watching it in the other ones for whatever reason. But this time I was just like, ugh, I have a like really icky feeling about this. I don't like it. And I almost wasn't able to move forward with it. But then
I was ill prepared as well.
it was just like that, there was so much talk about it. I was just like, I guess I have to finish this. I guess that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And at least they were half-hour episodes, so it wasn't, like they went by pretty quick. Yeah.
I think that was it. I think by episode 5 or 6, I was like, I don't know if I can continue watching. And then my girlfriend and I realized, oh, there's only like 2 more episodes. Yeah. It's not like a 10, So I was like, well, we have to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should read your bio, Joanne, before we go any further. Joanne Tsung was born in Taichung, Taiwan, and immigrated to Vancouver in the late 90s with her mom, dad, and 2 older brothers. She's been writing comedy and doing stand-up since 2018. Joanne identifies as a neurodivergent queer woman of color who is also a chef with no recipes, a self-proclaimed tattoo enthusiast, and a parent of a 10-year-old miniature pinscher named Bailey, who is originally from Philly.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's Bailey?
Bailey's so good. He's so good. He recently got a lumpectomy.
Oh.
He had because he's 12, and so he just has bumps and lumps, and it was all good. It was benign. It was a clean, just cut, and yeah, he has a funny little shave spot, which is so cute and funny. Only for me, but he's so good. He's so sweet, and as I feel like as he ages, he just gets cuddlier, which is fantastic for me because I've always wanted a dog that follows me around and can't live without me. People are very like, no, you want a dog who's a dog, and I'm like, no, I want a dog who's like a needy child, and like is in that stage where they have to like where they want you to basically like be touching them at all times, like while they eat, while they poop, while they everything. So that's how he is, and I love it. So he's very sweet, and yeah, he's doing a lot better. He doesn't really have a lot of anxiety these days, because my girlfriend works from home, so he's always with somebody, even though she is the secondary favorite person.
You're the alpha.
So I am truly.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah. We're all dog people here because I have 2 dogs.
yeah.
And Andrea has Franklin. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'm good.
Well, that was a good
Well,
status report. There we go.
Yeah, thanks for the Bailey update.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bailey's good, everyone.
Good.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you want to read the background to Baby
Yes,
Reindeer?
I do. And I have to say that for the longest time, I was calling it Reindeer Baby, which I sort of think is funnier. But I apologize if I said that earlier on the podcast that I had been watching Reindeer Baby. But it is indeed Baby Reindeer. It is a British black comedy drama thriller miniseries created by and starring Richard Gadd. An adaptation of Gadd's autobiographical one-man show of the same name, the series is based on Gadd's real-life experience of being stalked and sexually assaulted in his 20s. Directed by Weronika Tafilska and Josephine Bornbush, it stars Gadd, Jessica Gunning, and Navu Mao. The series consists of 7 episodes, which all simultaneously premiered on Netflix on the 11th of April, 2024. I forget how new this show is.
I know.
Like, we've been going through this whole cycle of talking about this, and it's less than a month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely, the shock value is there. So I feel like it definitely spread like fire because, yeah, everybody, and it's a quick watch. So everybody's on board.
Yeah. And do you want to read the synopsis to the show?
I will. The story of Baby Reindeer centers on struggling comedian Donnie Dunn's strange and layered relationship with a woman named Martha, whose initially friendly demeanor unravels as she begins to stalk Donnie relentlessly. Their first interaction is innocent enough. While working his shift as a bartender, Donnie shows an act of kindness to Martha, a customer whose vulnerability is readily apparent. But as the saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished, and this casual encounter sparks a suffocating obsession that threatens to wreck both their lives and forces Donnie to face his deeply buried trauma.
That is from Netflix.
Buried.
Very buried.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess let's just start with the buzz about the show. Like, when you started watching, did you have the urge to whip out your phone and just start finding out like how true a story this was, who these people were, that kind of thing?
Not in the way that things have developed. Like I wonder if that's just because I'm not in England, and if I was there, I might feel more like attached to this story. That it was more like. This is a person I could know maybe or something. So I feel quite distanced from it. Like I saw a British comedian that I know of. He was on just a quick, like a picture of him on Instagram. And he said, we all know the man that did this to Donnie. We know who he's talking about.
That was Richard Osman, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the comedian.
I feel,
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, Joanne, if it was a Canadian story and it happened in Canada, like you would probably know the comedian
100%,
that this was about.
100%. Yeah. I mean, or I would know who that player is, who that person is that is being mentioned. So, yeah, I mean, and I think, okay, so what is really interesting is that because this is a true story and because there's crime involved and related, that a lot of the discourse online and also of the interviews that have come out since are kind of about how everyone's so curious about who these real people are, and how he's like, please don't look for them, like they are just people, please, like this is just my story. Which I will say, I don't think he did a super great job of kind of like protecting them, or at least kind of making sure that to, do what he could to kind of lessen that internet police watchdog.
Didn't he use her real tweets too? Like all people had to do was search like the actual thing, right?
Yes, exactly. So I think not a super great job, because I think also people were like, oh, it's so authentic because these are her actual tweets or these are her actual messages. And so, yeah, it's not difficult, I think, to find, especially also because she's like convicted, right? So like there's multiple things out there. And I would imagine if this is also like somebody who is a big writer in the TV comedy world, that person is probably also well known. I have so many questions, and my biggest one, which I still have not found, is him talking about why he chose to cast himself as the person. And I know that he has said in previous interviews that he really wanted to, and because not every single event was real, that he wanted to still be able to portray the kind of emotions and what he went through as it was happening to him. And I understand that, but baby, there's lots of good actors. I just don't know why you had to like put yourself through that trauma again. Like it seems so intense. Like it seems so undesirable, I think, like as a writer, to put yourself in those shoes. I'm like, were you trying to save money? Like, what's happening?
But he did it as a play first, right? And he started his own play, right? So
yes,
I guess he'd already started
acted.
That. Yeah,
right.
Acted. And Did you not like his acting?
No, I mean, I did. I think I just had that in my mind the whole time because I knew that it was him. And I think, of course it was good, but I'm just like, oh, my heart, like, feels for him in this way, even though I'm like, he must obviously have done a great deal of therapy and he's gone over and being able to tell his story in this way that it just is work versus my life, and so I get that part. And I think that I did not have the urge because I thought, I feel like that's a dangerous road to go down to like find out who these people are, especially like trans women or different trans women out there. Like she was such a wonderful character. Like I was like, she is the only redeeming person in all of this. But yeah, I think that the reason I watched it was because they were like, Joanne, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. It's so good. It's so intense. And yeah, it was. I was not expecting so much of that just to unravel so quickly. And so,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, a question I have, though, like kind of related to what we're talking about, is just that, do you think that he treated the real life character of Martha fairly, given that in the story, he kind of talks about how she's like, depicted as having mental health issues and, at the end is a victim of trauma herself. And like, I don't know, like, do you think, because, now she's been discovered and now she's going to be, she's being interviewed by places and she's kind of become part of this news story, and she never asked for this.
Right.
And, like, I don't know. It just like, that seems to me like a really unfortunate.
Yeah, but I would say that, to Joanne's point about why did he want to star in this? I mean, he does not come out well. Like, he's not a hero at all.
No,
like, I mean,
for sure.
I mean, I know he's working through some trauma on his own, but yeah, his treatment of other people is quite horrific. Like, he's really selfish.
But like,
and,
do you think he should have done a better job changing the characters so that they couldn't be found?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think so. But I mean, because I don't know who the real person is, and I haven't like seen any photos or anything of her, I assumed that when he had said that I have changed so many aspects that it's unrecognizable, that I assumed that maybe she was a different race, or maybe she wasn't fat, or I don't know. But, I'm like, there are tons of people who look vulnerable or act or is vulnerable, to other people's affections. And so I think that I was confused I'm not quite sure like what would be the appealing factor of like finding out who the real Martha is because of this story. And I think more than anything, I think that if for me, the most striking, I think, is like how he presents his girlfriend, Neva Mao, as this kind of like voice of reason, that she was this like pure, loving being who he truly fell in love with, but because of his shame, he was so unable to be out and about with her, and that he did her so much disservice when she actually had been harmed. And I don't know like exactly which scenes are real or not, but she was clearly harmed and affected in real life, And so I think that he really did a disservice to her by not listening to her, or by like not allowing her to take the lead, especially because she's a therapist. Like so many red flags. And I think that the story is beautiful because for me, the beauty of the story only comes in the part of how real he is able to depict the like humanness of somebody who is a sexual assault survivor. And I think, survivor is such a bad word for it, but I feel like somebody who's experienced something so horrific, I think that he truly is taking the viewer through a very real reaction. Like everything that he does that is so frustrating, that is so not okay, feels like those things happen because of that trauma. And like, of course, I know like that's the story, is that he's relating back to this trauma that caused him to do all these crazy things, like not go to the police earlier, not talk about how she was convicted when he was at the police station, like he chose, or his brain chose, or in the split second, he wasn't able to say all the things that he was voicing, like when it was happening, when he was like, when the police asked me, why did it take you 6 months to report? And he's like, I had no answer. I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to say. And and when he came back again and again, and he still had not said, this woman who's stalking me is a convicted stalker. Like, that's all you had to say, like it would have been so easy to find out. And then again, like with him towards the end, like becoming so obsessed that he was asking the detective, like, oh, what does she say about me? Or, oh, I know how she would have reacted. I know that she would have wanted this and that. And it's like, well, because you were so already involved in her head and you wanted to, like, you almost had these like sick fantasies of like going to bed with her, which I was like, did that happen? I was like unsure when I was watching it, but
no, that was
I don't think that was real.
That was like a dream or a imaginative. Yeah.
But
you know what was real? It was real that he was masturbating over a picture of her. That was real.
Yes. Which, I mean, yeah, that's bad. And it's
I like how you just couldn't think of words.
That's not good. Man, that's bad. I just feel like, and it's so embarrassing. It's this like, it's humiliating. It's humiliating. And it's also just so degrading to yourself, I think. Like, and I think it was like how he knew he needed to kind of extremify his consumption of sex or of anything, that it needed to be extreme because he could no longer have a normal reaction to anything because of the assault. And I think sorry, I have so many thoughts. I have so many thoughts. And and like even like the frustrating part of like his ex-girlfriend hugging him at the end. I was like, why is she hugging him? Why is she like, feeling bad? Or maybe she's kind of like embracing him knowing that this happened, because I was like, oh, maybe, I mean, in discussions, I'm like, maybe because she felt guilty that all this stuff was happening while they were together and somehow she didn't know about it. Or,
well, he never told her. He kept coming home.
He never told her.
It was all, yeah.
I mean, and so it's like, if you're in this partnership, I mean, you're living in your girlfriend's mom's house, that like there is definitely a certain level of comfort after a long time that maybe that you're just able to keep this secret so well and come off so okay that she had no idea that you were doing every type of drug. And I'm like, this is so crazy because it's like different drugs that have different effects. So yeah, it's very confusing that like he would just continue to go back. And that's kind of always been, that continues to be my confusion.
Well, there's so many layers of things happening here. Like, cause you can see that, if someone with low self-esteem can, and, there's like a kind of male-female role reversal in the stalking, which might make it hard for him to tell other people about. Because men don't normally get stalked by women. But also like having low self-esteem, you can sort of imagine how it plays to like his ego and is like, well, there's someone, here that thinks I'm worth something.
Well, also him struggling with his sexuality, not understanding that. I mean, so her female attention gave him, oh, okay, I'm this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a dude that a gal would like in a bar. And so there you go. See? It's fine.
She gave him what he needed, I think. And I think it's like, obviously the attention from his actual girlfriend online at the time was the correct amount of attention in the right ways, but it wasn't from somebody he could be out and about with. And even him being out in like a restaurant with her in the very beginning where she had that meltdown, like even that was okay. Like he took her to a spot where there was other people, it wasn't like he met her at a park at nighttime. Like he took her out on this date, like Martha, in the daylight with people, right? Whereas like he very starkly showed himself only seeing his girlfriend only in this side of the town in this bar at nighttime. And so it's like, even somebody who he would never consider to be with romantically was still more legitimate than his shame of dating a trans woman, you know? And I'm like, that is so, that like shame, I think, runs so deeply, especially like, you know, the numbers, the statistics of people who have experienced sexual assault and how much they blame themselves and then in turn believe that because they are evil or bad or they did something to deserve it, that they need to be punished for it. And like hence therefore like him allowing all these things to happen as a way for him to kind of almost play with that abuse. Like for him to almost like, I think it was like he was able to control how much he let Martha in until he couldn't control it, until it was too much, until it was affecting his life. Because so many parts, so many moments where he was like, it's fine. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's inappropriate, but it's fine. Like even when his coworkers sent her a text message asking for sex, you know, he was like, no, it's fine. Like it's, and then, but it was not fine. It was not fine so quick.
I mean, I think that we were sort of discussing this at the beginning of the episode too. Like, it's one thing for us to be talking about this interesting show on Netflix. It's another thing to talk about why did this blow up? Why, like when I noticed, this is only a month, is like everyone. Like number one in the UK, number one in the United States, number one in Canada. Like, what is it that this show did? Like, because I mean, word of mouth can only get you a couple of views, but people are watching the whole thing, right? Like they're going right to the end. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are and why do you think this one is so popular?
I think it is like, you know, the obsessiveness of, and the story going viral about how people are trying to hunt down the characters in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I also do think that it is interesting because, and maybe, you know, in talking with y'all, I think that it maybe helps answer that he cast himself because he wants, like, he is the person that this happened to. And like, it is him himself, like not this, I mean, I'm a lesbian, so I don't know, but ugly guy, ugly, sad looking guy who's not, because I think that people's perception of stalking is that it happens to people who are either celebrities or very good looking people or like models or, you know, somebody who has something that the stalker can't ever acquire or can't ever have. And so I think that it is the intrinsic curiosity of a viewer to be like, oh, why did it happen to you? Or like, how did it happen to you? And why you? You know, like, why were you the one? Because I think in some of the other ones, like where he talks about who she stalked before, it kind of always was like people that she knew or worked with, you know, or like, or met in some way. But this was kind of very like self-invited by him. Like he instigated a conversation or a relationship. Like he continued, you know, day 2, day 3, day 4 that she continued to come back. He continued to like offer her a drink for free and to not question her on anything that she said. Like he just kind of like went along with it. When it was complimenting him, it was good. When she would talk about, oh my gosh, I have all these high profile clients. I'm so busy. He like never questioned that. Even though he did in the voiceover, he was like, that was weird, you know, or like if she was a big time lawyer, why couldn't she afford a cup of tea? Or why does she have such a old phone? You know, why does she didn't dress like she was a high profile lawyer? He had all these things that I think a regular person would question, but he just never allowed it to, you know, to actually become a question for himself.
How did you feel about the ending?
Oh, that was
To
clever.
the series.
Very, very smart. I was really impressed because I think that a story like this, there's a tendency. I know you said, Andrea, that you it reversed it because stalkers aren't often women. However, we do it in the horror movie Fatal Attraction way, right? The clingy woman, right? That's a trope. And how many guys are out there on a date right now going, my last girlfriend was crazy, right? Like that's a big, love to say that, right? So
everybody in Vancouver.
Yeah, just that, everyone else is crazy, but there was to me, there was an ownership to him ending it that way.
But when he went back to visit the apartment of his abuser, did you think that he was going there to like confront him or like get a sense of closure somehow? And when he didn't, like how did that make you feel when he left with accepting like a job offer from him instead? Like, I don't know how I feel about that part of the story. And I mean,
it's definitely not satisfying.
No, he's a flawed man, and he said to you, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm flawed, and I'm going to show you all the ways that I am tremendously flawed. And there's no quick fix to this.
No. I mean, I think the scene of him coming out to his parents was very sweet. I think that was lovely. I think him going back to the abuser's home was literally unhinged, insane. What? Because I was like, oh, he's gonna shoot him. He has a gun. He's gonna shoot him. That's what I thought. I was like, that makes sense. But it all comes rushing back. I think that like that tiny seed of him recognizing why he did all those things. I think it was like for the very unstable promise that he was going to make it, that he was going to be big, he was going to be huge, that he did all of those things, like while working a full-time job, like writing scripts or writing things, like not getting paid, not getting seen anywhere, just for the potential promise of making it as a writer or as a comedian. And I think that it's very funny because I think what I looked up after this was that he kind of comes off as like a really, really bad comedian in the show, but he isn't. Like, I think because
did you look at his stand-up? Did you watch some videos?
Yeah, I mean, I researched into him a little bit because I was like, this guy is bonkers. Number one, bonkers. And so, what is it that made him? Because I'm like, it's not just this story, right? It's not because it's from a fringe show. We know that now. And so I think all of these, they're very successful fringe shows. Like they're both like best of the show winning.
Well, like the Fleabag was another example that was also a fringe show that took off,
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And I mean, Fleabag is phenomenal. So I do think that he downplayed maybe how good of a comedian he was, because it would have made a little bit more sense, at least in him justifying him going back again and again to this guy. If he was like somebody who was maybe on the brink of making it big, or he was somebody who was in the crowds, but he just needed that somebody. He just needed another person who was in to help him get there. Because I'm like, he was not even close to selling out a bar, like I was like, this is so weird. How is he just falling into this guy's hands who's promising all these things, like he's just telling him all these lies. But it brought maybe a little bit more clarity to like maybe why he was so attracted to what this guy represented or could have represented.
Well, I'm glad that was the question I had, because I'm glad you like looked up his previous work, because for me, like every time it came for him to do a comedy thing, it was just like so cringeworthy.
What was with the suit? The suit.
Yeah.
Like I didn't understand. Why would you be? Is that a subgenre of comedy? The suit comedy?
Honestly, the Brits, what do they do? What are they doing? I don't know, but I do think that obviously there's humor there that I don't quite understand, but the suit was very weird, especially because he didn't have even a room to himself, and that he chose to put on this suit every time. And I'm like, most struggling comedians are in a sweater and a like sneakers and jeans. They're not in like a full suit with with multiple props, you know? And I think it's maybe it's to play into how much of a loser he was or that he felt, you know?
Well, yeah, maybe like, and that sort of speaks to that man, like obviously being a predator, because this guy had nothing to offer at all, right? I mean, there was nothing.
Yeah. No, there's nothing.
No, there was
not even
nothing.
like a meeting with anybody. That was weird that it didn't happen. And it was like weeks and weeks and weeks. Because I would imagine that, you know, if somebody had said that to me, I would have been like, okay, well, let's see what 2 weeks will bring or 1 month, you know? But it just, I can't compare myself because I simply am too smart.
But there's something, you know, also he was not, at that time he met that man, he wasn't exploring his sexuality. And here was this person,
Correct.
even though it was awful, was offering some different thing that he didn't feel he could ask for himself. That's
right.
just you know what I mean?
I do. Okay. The queerness part of all this is very interesting. And I want to say that because of this as well, there's this discourse now, I think, around like the argument of like being born gay, being born straight, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that people are now saying, or that people are now saying, blah, 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 that you can't be born gay. And that you are also, just like how you are not born straight. Nobody is born with a sexual attraction to anything, right? So you are born the way you are, and because of your culture, heritage, upbringing, and social economic status, it brings you to whatever happens to you, right? And I think that because by saying that I was born straight or I was born gay, it takes away the person's ability to choose and to change, right? Because I think that like when people think about, oh, he realized something about himself after the abuse, so the abuse made him queer. And it's like, no, I don't think.
I think it's the other way around. I think he was.
Yeah.
Yes, that's.
Yes.
Yes.
I think he was obviously queer and like maybe having these emotions and just it just manifested in a very, very horrific way, but it allowed him to maybe confront it at the same time he was confronting the abuse or the trauma. You know, I think that like, and of course, so many people who are queer, I think, do mention, you know, like, oh, this has happened to me. You know, maybe I had experienced assault and so I can no longer be with men or women or, you know, whatever it might have been. And so yeah, your sexuality can literally change because of your experiences, I think. And so it's not, you know, you chose to be gay or chose to be straight or chose to be trans. I think that your experiences shape how your relationship is with your own mind, and like sexuality is part of that. And so I think it's interesting because, and I wonder, like, he went about it in a roundabout way. Like he went on a trans dating website, which is like, who is on those sites? Like what straight men might be on those sites, or what kind of men might be on those sites looking for specifically this experience of a person versus him just going on a dating site, because trans women are on all dating sites, not just trans specific ones, right? Like, and him exploring, or even just like going to a club or going to a bathhouse. I don't know, you know, like what he chose to do, I think, was very rooted in his shame still. And
then we find out where
queerness.
it came from too, right?
Yeah.
His father was his father, you know? So
that scene, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That scene was so, it made my girlfriend laugh. And I was like, girl, why are you laughing? But it was so, because he said it, right? He says it because he's like, it's come out now on YouTube. And I want to be the first to tell you before you guys hear of it. I was assaulted. And then his dad's like, I grew up in the Catholic Church. And I was like,
oh, well,
he's
okay,
hijacking the conversation. It's about me now, guys.
Yeah.
He was like, well, yeah, that was I was like, oh, his dad was like, oh my God.
Stealing his thunder.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, oh my gosh. But, and I'm like, wow, that family had a massive breakthrough. And that poor mom, she was like, my God, two times. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She probably had a cigarette that day.
Yeah.
A cheeky
very
little
least.
cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's addictive because I think that it is so intensely real that anything based on a true story really pulls a viewer in such a way that it's like reality TV. It's so far away from our life that it's so so entertaining, and it just helps us like dissociate, because it pulls you in so quickly. Like horror, but it's not quite horror, right? And I think
exactly.
Because people who don't watch horror would not watch this. Or, sorry, people who don't watch horror might not necessarily not watch this because it's not a horror show. Mm-hmm. So then, but it is played like a horror show because it leads up to this thing that is not the original thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think it's like, it's stalking, but then it's so much deeper. And then you find out, you fall down this rabbit hole of you needing to know what happens. Even me, I'm like, did he really take a gig with that guy? Like, did he, like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, just from us having this conversation, there's like so much to talk about. And there's no clear kind of, like, no one has a set opinion on like what the story is about, or like how much of it is true, and like and I think that like all of that has generated so much conversation and contributed to why this show has like such incredible buzz and is being watched by so many people, even though it's like a very harrowing experience.
Yes.
I wonder too if there's something about the vulnerability that it showed to play this, and it be your life, and if there was something really like almost like overwhelming about it, like I think we're used to. It's not that we're not used to, the struggles of men in shows. Like we had Sopranos, we have Breaking Bad, we have Succession, we have all that, but I don't know if anyone's ever decided to do it in quite this way where the bar is kind of lifted, like, oh, you want to do a story about that? Have you seen this movie? Because that's what we're going to be looking for.
Yeah, strap in. My gosh.
Yeah, he put everything on the table. Like, it's impressive. And I have a lot of admiration for, someone being willing to turn themselves inside out like that and put it in a story.
It shows that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it just shows that even in the end that he hasn't yet done any healing. Like he's done so much as like he's kind of almost playing like a, what is it called? Like a publicity. I can't think of the word, but he's almost like cleaning up what has happened because of his outburst on stage, right? He only comes out to his parents and tells them what happened because he has that outburst on stage, and he's like, oh, well, now, I have to go tell people. He's almost like cleaning up his mess before he's actually even confronted himself with all these things, because he's still, and he gets offered to go back to his girlfriend's house to like live for a bit, and he gets all these things. And I do truly wish that we got to see a little bit more of like what happened to him, like his job or his life afterwards. Like not even with Martha or Darian, just what did he do after? Did he continue to do comedy? Obviously he did. Like, how did he find success? Because, I mean, I'm sure that is still ongoing. There's no way that, like, that the person says from times like that he emerges like fine, or that he emerges healed, or that he's dealt with it all. Because it's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Lifetimes.
So, do either of you, we're at the end of our conversation about this, although I'm sure we could continue.
Yeah, no kidding.
But is Baby Reindeer something that you think pops, and would you recommend it to others?
Oh, I absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it should come with some caveats like, a show does, which is to warn people. If you have some issues yourself that you're working through, I don't know what it's like seeing somebody lay themselves out there like that, So, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was entertaining and everything, but it was a lot. It was a lot to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, no, it didn't pop. It didn't pop because, I mean, this is an insane story for sure. I think that I wouldn't recommend people watching this. I think that I can't not recommend it because everyone is going to watch it. But I think that I am now taking it upon myself to give everyone the caveats and all the trigger warnings because I don't think there was enough. I truly don't think there was enough because there was a lot of things that happened that there was no trigger warning other than maybe themes of suicide or self-harm or sexual assault. But I think there should have been a little bit more warning with the transphobia, with the violence against women in this way. I think there was a lot more that could have been done around that. And yeah, I mean, that might have been intentional too, to kind of throw the viewer in head first into what was going to happen. So I did not love how it shocked me in that way. And it was tough. It was tough. I did not love watching it. I will say that. I did not love watching it, but the real story is fascinating, of course. But it takes definitely a type of person to put their story out like this. And that is the thing that is going to be your story for the rest of your life. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, right? I don't know what he could do differently. That is, could he do something else now that is not to do with that story in comedy? I mean, he could maybe be a writer, but I don't know how he would perform anything else. I mean, and that was also his most successful show. Makes sense. It came from the heart.
Yeah. I kind of agree with both of you, but I think you should know more about the show before going into it. Yeah. And if you understand all of that and feel okay with that, then go ahead and watch it because it is a nuanced and very unusual and fascinating story if you can handle watching it through to the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I don't know if we have created a level of pop for that.
Yeah, I agree. It's got a lot of conditions to my pop. If that's a thing. I don't know.
Caveats and conditions.
Okay, well, we like to leave our episode on things we recommend. Lisa, do you want to go first?
Sure. I know I'm a bit late to this party, but just finished reading the book Bad Cree, novel by Jessica Johns. And it was a terrific, fast read. Even though there were troubling stories being told, it was an amazing experience of just spending time with three cousins and their aunties. That was it. I think that very, very peripherally some men pop in, but they're gone real quick. So it was a great read, and I really would love to see it as a movie. I'm hoping.
Excellent. Yeah, I've heard great things about it. I really want to read it.
That would be a good movie.
Yeah. Joanne, what do you recommend?
It's so funny. A Costco book, if you will. I bought it at Costco because the cover was beautiful, but it was actually really, really good. It's called The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. And it is a it is a series, and it's the second book in the series. The first one's called The Maid. I thought it was very interesting because it is from the perspective of a luxury hotel maid.
I've read The Maid. It's great.
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
great. So this is the second book. And I haven't read The Maid, but I've read this one and it's very good. I think that the way that she describes her thoughts, I'm like, this is somebody who's autistic, but it's never named. I'm like, the way that she thinks is very, very particular. And I love
it's the
I love
same
that.
in The Maid. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to say that there's a line, I'm not going to pull my book out, but there's a line where she is describing something that happened to her that was a little bit traumatic, but she's describing it through the lens of a kid. And I'm like, wow, it is so well, that line haunts me. It's so well written.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'll find it. I'll type it.
Oh, I'm glad to know that there's another book out. I'm gonna hunt
yes.
it down.
Yes, Costco.
Well, my recommendation is completely different from these books. I have an Instagram account called Weekly Home Check by this young man named Kishan, and he has developed like a 52-week kind of like stuff you do around the house to sort of keep your life and home organized. And his Instagram is just like kind of like little weekly reminders and tutorials about how to do stuff. And he's so like pleasant and gentle about it. And his tips are so like nice. And I think like it just makes the idea of housekeeping to be like, you know, something that's a I don't know, merry or fun thing to do. Like that's just kind of the vibe he gives.
So is that all one word? Weekly?
Yeah. Weekly home check.
Okay.
And he does things like, you know, tells you how to clean out your dishwasher or, you know, kind of.
I literally did that yesterday.
One of his like latest things was like using black tea to clean your wood floors.
Oh.
Apparently it's a good thing to use.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this. All right.
Yeah. And he's just organized it. So it's all like a 52-week plan. And if you follow him, he'll just like walk you through it. And it's just, I don't know.
I love that.
I love watching his videos.
I honestly think,
look at this right now. Yeah.
I think honestly, the whole like organizing and like home, it's so much better now because it's not just people with like giant mansions and matching everything. Like it's people who are like, hey, in your 1-bedroom apartment, this is what you can do, you know? And I'm like, that's relatable.
Yeah.
And I can do that. Yeah. On a budget. Here's my dollar store sponge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Joanne, for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us. You had so many
gosh.
terrific insights into the show, and even though it didn't pop for you, I feel like you had so many intelligent things to say about it, and I'm glad you joined us.
I am so happy to be here always and forever. And I'm so glad you gave me some space to vent about this show. Yeah.
Well, this is the place.
Yeah, I had thoughts for sure. Thank you.
And if anyone listening has thoughts about the show, please feel free to email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com or reach us on any of the social medias.
Yeah, and thanks so much to Andrea Gin for who is our co-host and producer here, and also with our Andrea Warner not being her best self right now, a wrangler of talent. So good job.
I know. Look at the talent
I know.
this week. I know. Impressive.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.